देने आई एम श्योर आप सभी आज का आईपीएल ऑक्शन का इंतजार तो कर रहे होंगे, पर उससे आगे वीकेंड क्रिकेट। लेकिन आज हम कोई लाइव मैच के बारे में नहीं बात करेंगे दोस्तों, auction, because IPL 2023, the 15th IPL season is only a few months away। और आजकल खासकर कोविड के टाइम पे कहां समय निकल जाता है किसी को नहीं पता। तो आज के शो में बात करेंगे हम कौन से खिलाड़ी भारतीय अंतरराष्ट्रीय सबसे ज्यादा पैसे कमाएंगे आज के ऑक्शन में, कौन से फ्रेंचाइजेस क्या खर्च करेंगे, किसको लेंगे, who will make the right call, who will make the bad call, who will make some calls which will only be told once the IPL gets around। जब कभी दोस्तों ये आईपीएल ऑक्शन आता है तो मुझ जैसे मीडिया वाले, मुझ जैसे क्रिकेट फैन, मैं थोड़ा ना one foot in two different boats। On the one hand, as a cricket journalist, there's an excitement and a buzz to see कि यार क्या होगा, लेकिन दूसरा होता है कि यार इतना कुछ होगा, क्या होगा, how much work will have to be done, how many videos, how many articles, but at the end of the day, it's always fun to track these maddening, and I use the word maddening because काफी बार आप देखते हो कि यार इतने पैसे के लिए कोई खिलाड़ी किया था, इतने खर्च किया किसी, इतना खर्च किया किसी फ्रेंचाइज ने। सो इट्स ऑलवेज अ बिट ऑफ अ डाइसी सिचुएशन वाचिंग इट, बिकॉज यू डू फील बैड दोस्तों। कई बार मैं नाम या लूंगा, लेकिन बहुत सारे खिलाड़ी को करोड़ों में किसी फ्रेंचाइज ने खरीदा, और जब वो खिलाड़ी नहीं चल पाए तो इन दी सोशल मीडिया someone gets pulled up, and you do feel bad for these players because they aren't the ones necessarily asking for the money। But to take this show forward, एक बंदा है, मेरे दोस्त हैं, हम फॉर्मर कॉलीग्स रह चुके हैं, संजीव मुखर्जी, टीवी एंकर, टीवी जर्नलिस्ट, स्पोर्ट्स एंकर। ही इज अ मैन ऑफ मेनी मेनी टैलेंट्स। मैं उनसे मिला था 2 दिन पहले कॉफी पीने, तो मैंने कहा यार कॉफी तो हम पीएंगे, तुम दोबारा एक बार मेरे शो पे आ जाओ, बिकॉज द लास्ट टाइम दैट संजीव मुखर्जी वाज ऑन दिस शो इट वाज अ ईयर अगो। और दोस्तों हम इसी टॉपिक को लेकर चर्चा कर रहे थे, यानी कि 2022 का आईपीएल ऑक्शन था, एंड हियर वी आर अ ईयर लेटर, संजीव मुखर्जी एंड आई टॉकिंग अबाउट द आईपीएल ऑक्शन व्हिच लाइक आई सेड will begin in a couple hours from now। So without any further ado, let's bring on my good friend Mr. Mukherjee। ज्वाइन रिक्वेस्ट तो आ गया, संजीव को मैंने एक्सेप्ट कर दिया। अर्थ टू संजीव मुखर्जी, कहां हो मेरे दोस्त? आ गए, आ गए। भाई थोड़ा अपना हेडरूम कम, आई नो यू रीड अ लॉट ऑफ बुक्स, थोड़ा बुक्स को कम दिखाओ, थोड़ा अपने आप को ठीक कर दो हल्का सा।
बैकग्राउंड
देने आई एम श्योर आप सभी आज का आईपीएल ऑक्शन का इंतजार तो कर रहे होंगे, पर उससे आगे वीकेंड
और हम नहीं आए। क्या बात है, क्या बात है।
देने आई एम श्योर आप सभी आज का आईपीएल ऑक्शन का इंतजार तो कर रहे होंगे, पर उससे आगे वीकेंड
और हम नहीं आए। क्या बात है, क्या बात है।
देने आई एम श्योर आप सभी आज का आईपीएल ऑक्शन का इंतजार तो कर रहे होंगे, पर उससे आगे वीकेंड
और हम नहीं आए। क्या बात है, क्या बात है। और अगर इतना ही पार्ट्स है तो मुझे भी आईपीएल ऑक्शन में कोई ले लेगा, है ना?
Yes, Sanjeev। 2023, the 15th IPL season is only a few months away। और आजकल खासकर कोविड के टाइम पे कहां समय निकल जाता है किसी को नहीं पता। तो आज के ले ले, लेकिन जो 12-15 साल हो गए हमारी दोस्त अंतरराष्ट्रीय सबसे ज्यादा सब, अपार्ट फ्रॉम अ फ्यू कंपनीज वेयर वी हैड द फॉर्चून ऑफ वर्किंग टुगेदर। बट यार संजीव ये बताओ, बिफोर वी गेट इन व्हिच विल ओनली बी टोल्ड वंस द you have covered so many actions, you've been at the venues, even when you've not been at the venues, you've been tracking these developments from office, one foot in are that deep in your experience, been the most hatke auction that you've covered? How much work will have to be done, how
few of them, लेकिन मुझे शायद याद आएगा पवन नेगी एंड जयदेव उनतकट।
the word maddening because काफी
picks, yeah, and you know for the reason I say that I I mean, no discredit or disrespect to the players involved.
Bit of a dicey situation watching it because
They say that it is about Moneyball theory, the cost effectiveness, and what somebody brings to the table when you concern when
पाए तो in the social media
those amounts of money, those sums were obscene sums, and somebody like Yuvraj Singh would have been thinking that मैंने क्या गलती किया कि
forward एक बंदा
I
है
think in a sense those were couple of times I felt even somebody like me who I used to think that
बैलेंस मैं उनसे मिला था 2 दिन पहले
as far as the auction is concerned. But when I saw that, I was rattled. I was like, I didn't expect it, Jamie, to, mind-boggling
और दोस्तों हम इसी टॉपिक को लेकर
for cricketers. And when they did come a cropper, as they say, they did come a cropper. It put, I would say, unnecessary amount of pressure.
like I said we'll begin in
Make sure that they would justify, their wage bill, as one of our former common friends would say. They could not, because the tremendous pressure of trying to live up to top billing, and suddenly, look at today's auction. You have a Sam
आ गए
Cameron Green and Brooks and etc. were expected to be the top gainers, and in this scenario, if you suddenly see somebody who's completely a left field pick emerge as the biggest, most sought after person and gets a whopping amount of money, I mean he will be happy for a point of time, but after that, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on him. I
absolutely
mean, he'll start questioning whether he's good enough to, get that money or not.
we'll come to this topic of left field picks because like you rightly said हर ऑक्शन में ऐसा कोई ऑक्शन नहीं गया 14 साल में जहां पे कोई लेफ्ट फील्ड पिक नहीं विल कम टू दैट बट वन मोर क्वेश्चन ऑन योर ग्राउंड लेवल रिपोर्टिंग यू आर मैं जानता हूं कि सूत्रों के अनुसार तुम्हारी जिंदगी कितना चलता था एक टाइम पे हैव देयर बीन टाइम्स व्हेन यू परहैप्स बीन लेड टू बिलीव समथिंग पर फिर किसी भी फ्रेंचाइज ने कुछ और किया था मे बी नॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ अ लेफ्ट फील्ड पिक बट यू थिंकिंग अच्छा ये तो कुछ बिकॉज इट हैपेंस इन आवर लाइन ऑफ वर्क यू टोल्ड समथिंग एक हद तक आपको उस सोर्स की बातों पे भरोसा करना पड़ता है बट यू दैट डज लीव सम रूम फॉर अच्छा यार ये तो कुछ और निकला आई एम आस्किंग दिस क्वेश्चन बिकॉज आई वांट आवर व्यूअर्स टू नो in the prime of TV reporting what your job was like because I think that era is perhaps in the distant right now.
Yeah, very well put, Jamie. That era is long gone. It's dead
Long
and gone
gone.
and buried, perhaps. But yeah, it was tough because I'll tell you one thing. As you rightly said, these days when you look at reports, these days I'm not sitting here to critique how people do their news, but more or less we see curation. We don't see journalism. For example, if Jamie Alter writes a story somewhere, and then I see five, for example, I'm just being hypothetical, five other reporters or five news outlets picking up the same story, using the same quotes, and then attributing it to sources. So these sort of sources and the sources we actually used to have in those days, not very long back, that
Not
because
long
if
back, you're
it
right.
is really long back, then it makes both of us extremely old, which I don't think so. Either of us are. So yeah, we had fun with those sources. There were times they would lead us down the river, and it was funny. They had every right to do so because I'll tell you, I clearly remember there was one particular player. I would not wish to name him. I think one or two players, two or three teams were literally after him. So I was trying to speak to them, trying to get a feeling about whether they would actually go for their teams because we needed to do a story on who the top picks would be. So I saw a couple of the teams. They said one of them was very, very blunt. He said, "Okay, we have X amount of money. We'll try our best and we'll get this player." The other was dilly-dallying. The third team franchisee interestingly said, "Sanjeev, we don't need him." I said, "Really? You don't need him, but you do have a requirement for a player like this with this sort of skill set." He said, "But I'm running the franchise. Are you?" He said it in a very nice way, not condescending way. And he said, "We don't need it." I said, "Okay." And I was going back to the hotel to file the report. And suddenly it made me think, is he being honest? Because it could be a decoy. It could be a decoy. So now, see, if I can't name the person, if he's my source, and I say, I can't challenge my source, and I cannot say that the source has said this when he's actually not said it, which is something which people do these days. So what I did, rather, I named the two teams, saying one of them is clearly going to go, no holds barred for this player. The others yet to make up their minds, but surely seeing the attention which the player gathers will jump in. And then I tried a dusra myself. I said, I'm not sure about the others. I'm not sure about the others, but will it be worth even taking the risk of ignoring a player of this stature and caliber, even for a franchise of XYZ's repute and credentials? And left the story there. When I reached the hotel where the auction was happening, I think this was in Chennai or Bangalore. I remember 10 minutes before the auction, that gentleman who said, we are not interested, sent me a text with a smiley. And I knew I
क्या
had
बात है?
hit the nail on its head. And guess what? They are the ones who got that particular player. So it's fun. It's fun. But yeah, you've got to be sharp with your maths. You've got to be sharp with the mathematics. And of course, you will have to be ready to see that even if you understand the logic of so-called money ball of cricket and blah blah
Correct.
blah, there are sometimes not just left field. There are sometimes some very bizarre selections which baffle everybody, and for which I think even the sharpest of minds will not be able to decipher as to why that particular player has been taken for that particular amount of money. There's no way you can say that, and that's the fun part. That's the joy of the
Absolutely
IPL.
no. You're absolutely right. That is the fun part. इसी बात का मैं जिक्र कर रहा था शो के शुरुआत में before you joined कि you there are left field predictions but it's the pressure you mentioned or pressure on a Pawan Negi on a Jaydev Unatkar. बहुत सारे players हैं जिनके ऊपर because Sanjeev at the end of the day they've not asked for that amount. किसी स्काउट ने किसी फ्रेंचाइज ने पैडल बार बार उठा के उनके ऊपर ये अमाउंट डाला है whether it translate into success that's not in anyone's hand entirely but I'm glad you also very briefly talked about the role that you had because apart from talking cricket on these shows I like to ask my guests a bit about what they do ताकि viewers को मालूम पड़े कि वो क्या करते हैं not all shows will do it normally people just do a standard Q&A but if a guest has a specific skill I like to somewhat deviate into that to let people know I of course know all about what you've done but for our viewers but let's get into the show दोस्तों अगर आपको नहीं पता है 991 players have been trimmed down to 405 जिसमें से अब केवल 273 और फाइनल देयर जिनमें से 132 वो हैं ओवरसीज a maximum of 87 can be purchased of which 30 have to be overseas. One question Sanjeev before we jump into it, do you think this concept jo hai of an auction is it perhaps getting repetitive? We mentioned about the thrill, we mentioned about the buzz that surrounds it, but it's been 15 years. क्या कुछ और concept try करना चाहिए? Maybe a draft system. Is there any other way? Do you think every IPL season can be approached? या in your experience क्या यही format best है?
Yeah, the draft system sounds good, but as far as the IPL is concerned, I mean, look at everything with regards to the IPL. It's about the sheer volume of numbers. The IPL is the second most valued league, as we all know, in the world as of
Correct.
now. I was reading a new term about any league or any organization which crosses a valuation of 10 billion within the first 15 years. I think the term is called decacorn. That's something I've heard of unicorns, but unicorns of all sorts we all have. But now I'm hearing about the decacorn. The IPL
You've
is the
taught me a new
decacorn.
word. Thank you, Sanjeev. That's rare.
So the IPL is a decacorn. I think the sheer amount of money and the fact is the valuation of the league. I think the valuation of the league is such that it'll be very very difficult to change certain things which are not really cast in stone, but which actually add flavor and build a sort of character for the IPL. I'm not saying it's for people who watch. It's for people, the consumers, to say whether they like it or not. But I would say that I would rather prefer have the auction in the way it happens. Of course, I'm not really a fan of these mini auctions. I would rather have a mega auction every 2 or 3 years or
That's a
even
good
5 years.
point.
And the mini auctions maybe need to be done away with, or they need to find a different way of doing this. But the auction has to be there for the IPL because that's what actually got everybody's eyeballs. You remember there was a point of time, late 2007, early 2008, when suddenly all of us were huddled in front of a television screen. Few of us,
Oh, yes.
like you and me, were there trying to cover it and trying to make sense of what's going on. And suddenly we saw players going under the hammer for crores of rupees. And that was a new concept for us. But guess what? That took everybody by storm. That caught everybody's attention. And make no mistake, This is show business. This is not just cricket. This is cricketainment, and there's
I was
nothing
waiting
wrong
for that
about
word to
it.
pop up,
IPL
knowing
needs.
your expertise. Cricketainment, yes.
No, I'll tell you why. Because cricketainment, unfortunately, I don't have the copyright, but I used to do a show with the news channel where I used to work, primarily on the IPL, and we actually came up with the name Cricketainment, the marriage of cricket and entertainment. There's nothing wrong with it. I find it absolutely ridiculous when people can question the IPL day after day for all the wrong reasons. The fact is that it has built the tremendous consumer base which world cricket today has. You look at
Yep.
why South Africa is falling backwards, trying to get a T20 league in place. Abu Dhabi, Dubai is trying to get a T20 league in place. Everybody wants to play T20. This format, IPL, is actually brought in the money. It's bringing bang for the buck. You cannot have a business. You cannot have a business in these times of COVID, recession, blah, 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 where sponsors come and shell out money. And what are the returns? I mean, we all know the numbers as far as Test cricket and one day cricket is concerned. But as far as IPL is concerned, it is, I would say, nothing beats the IPL. The sheer volume, the glamour factor, the excitement, the thriller minute, or rather thriller second thing which the IPL brings with it, and the association about summer holidays and evening, you need to watch TV, put on TV,
Yep.
and instead of your soap opera, you watch the IPL. So I think there are few things in the IPL which need not be changed, need not be tinkered with, and first and foremost, certainly the auction. I would love to see an auction whenever they need to have one.
Well said, and I think, yeah, I think the mini auction could perhaps be done away with. You want to keep that uniqueness about it, so having it every year and a half does get a bit too much. Before we go to the next question, हमारे lovely viewers के लिए मैं सबसे पहले एक पोल लगाना चाहूंगा. Is the concept of an IPL auction in need of a revamp? दोस्तों, आपके पास अपने लॉक स्क्रीन पर 30 सेकंड है. आप जल्दी से पोल के जवाब दीजिए. कुछ नहीं करना है आपको बस टैप करना है yes या टैप करना है no. 25 seconds left on the clock, because we always want to hear your views. अब let's get into it, Sanjeev. You talked about the three big names. I think हर मीडिया हाउस अभी इन तीनों ओवरसीज खिलाड़ी के बारे में चर्चा कर रहा है. बेन स्टोक्स, who needs no introduction. Sam Curran, who, if he needed an introduction, or let's say a reintroduction after missing the IPL for 1 year, he gave it in that T20 World Cup very recently. And then Cameron Green, a player who actually is not so much known for his T20 exploits, but seeing his rise in Australian cricket, बहुत लोग कह रहे हैं शायद इस बंदे का जो है टैग वो बहुत बड़ा होने वाला है. Before I get your answer, the viewers are saying नहीं, कोई रिवैम्प की जरूरत नहीं है. 100% resounding reply, मत करो. Sanjeev, your take on these three big names we've been discussing.
Yeah, I mean, they are big names, and of course, Cameron Green. It just does surprise me sometimes a little bit as to why he is creating such a buzz. Maybe he deserves to be there, but certainly Ben Stokes and Sam Curran, of course, they're right there, right at the top. But I'm surprised that there are not other names like a Mayank Agarwal who are making the names as far as the biggest buys, or who could be the biggest buys, or the buzz around them. Mayank Agarwal certainly deserves to be there. That's one. Secondly, I would look at somebody like Josh Little. Josh Little, although little by name, he's big by exploits. We all saw how well he
Absolutely.
performed for Australia, and you don't know, there might be a crazy bidding war for somebody like a Josh Little. But yeah, Ben Stokes and Sam Curran, of course, they will certainly they deserve the buzz which is around them, and I'm sure a lot of franchisees are gearing up to buy them for big money. And maybe they might be the biggest buys, but I'm not really sure about Ben Stokes. Sam Curran, 100%. Ben Stokes, if you ask me personally, fantastic player, no mean feat that he's won to multiple World Cups single-handedly on more occasions than not for his country. But the concept of Ben Stokes leaving home, his family, and coming here to
Yeah.
play IPL for a pretty long time, considering what he's been through, and the fact that whether he gets to bowl or not, because that's something you'll also have to see. How many of these English and Australian players will be allowed by their respective boards, in case they play all the 14 games, to be bowling in all those 14 games? Because remember, there is an Ashes coming up. So these are
Yes.
factors which need to be taken at. But for Sam Curran, certainly, if I had been a franchise owner, if you ask me between Sam Curran and Ben Stokes, I would put all my money on the table for a Sam Curran.
I'll bring this discussion back to not so much Green, but to Ben Stokes and Sam Curran, because you've raised two valid points. But just You said that you're surprised that Mayank Agarwal को लेके इतना काफी चर्चा नहीं हो रहा है. Now, I understand कि what Mayank Agarwal does bring to any franchise, and there's at least 4 franchises, Sanjeev, जो मेरे दिमाग में लगता है कि उनको एक इंडियन टॉप ऑर्डर बैट्समैन की जरूरत है. But now here's my question to you, because like I said at the show ki shuruaat mein, you've been around these franchises when the buzz is being built. If I can just draw your attention and the viewers' attention to Mayank Agarwal's form this year. Inka IPL kharab tha. 12 innings mein he did not even get to 200 runs. His strike rate was 122, his average was 16. Uske baad, you can say yaar IPL ko to 8-10 mahine ho gaye, koi baat nahi. His Vijay Hazare trophy and his Syed Mushtaq Ali trophy, they were bordering on abysmal, right? Does this perhaps then take the sheen off what, like I said, what a Mayank Agarwal can give you and what he's doing this year? The current form make a difference in these backroom decisions.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Very good point, actually, Jamie. Current form actually decides a lot as far as cricket, any sport is concerned. But I would rather see the way picks have been made as far as IPL is concerned over the years.
Huh.
Current form, I would rather feel that the franchisees go look at current form when it is about new players, when it is about youngsters and new players coming into this, riding on a huge wave of confidence. You don't really look at a player of good confidence and caliber and good repute, who can stature. I'm not talking about Mayank Agarwal's stature. Of course, he had a disappointing run. लेकिन ये भी याद कीजिएगा, Jamie, that he actually sacrificed his position. Being the captain, he sacrificed his position as an opener. He was batting down the order.
True.
How many people are able to do that? And that is something which obviously acted on him and possibly didn't do wonders for his batting. So that is something which we'll all have to take into account. But I think Mayank Agarwal is too good a batsman. I'm not saying he's going to set the IPL on fire, but as you rightly said, there are 3 or 4 franchisees who do not pack the Indian punch as far as batting is concerned, or a lot of them have the same type of batsman in the upper order. You look at a Chennai Super Kings. Chennai Super Kings, for all that they were, they'll not have the Suresh Raina. Ravindra Jadeja is based. They've somehow managed to have him back, but they have got 4 left-handers in their possible, top 6, top 7. So would a Mayank Agarwal not fit there? Robin Uthappa is also gone, right? So CSK, somebody like a CSK needs a good batsman.
KKR also, Sanjeev.
Batsman. Because KKR always seems to be falling short of good batsmen. So, I think Mayank Agarwal would be a good pick. It remains to be seen who picks him.
Remains to be seen who picks him. इसी बात पर दोस्तों आप सभी के लिए मैं एक और पोल लगाऊंगा. You have 30 seconds. Like Sanjeev just wondered, will franchises spend big on Mayank Agarwal? आपके पास 25 सेकंड है. कुछ नहीं करना है. Yes दबाना है या no दबाना है. We want to hear your views and then we'll move on to the next thing. I agree with you. मतलब KKR है. RCB also may want someone. There are certain franchises because I think Sanjeev, जिस तरह से ये गुजरात टाइटंस ने अपनी पहली सीजन में आके ये तूफान मचाया, राइट? I think it's sort of got a couple of franchises wondering, on paper they had I think Lucknow had a far better team on paper than Gujarat did, right? You look at the Gujarat squad, IPL से पहले आपने कहा हाँ इनके पास शायद 4 मैच विनर्स हैं, maybe 5, लेकिन ये इन पर ज्यादा निर्भर हैं. But then that team goes on to win the trophy. Maybe a lot of franchises will be looking at that model and seeing how. Our viewers are saying 100% viewers कह रहे हैं नहीं मयंक अग्रवाल पे ज्यादा पैसे नहीं लगाए जाएंगे. Sanjeev seems to think slightly different. He thinks this is going to be a big ticket buy. Let's now move into what I was talking about. Let's go with Ben Stokes first, because Ben Stokes, Sanjeev, we know what he can do. I think he went for some 16 crores back when you and I were fully embedded in media. Risings, Pune Super Giants. He took उस सीजन में इस बंदे ने 100 लगाया. He took wickets. Crucially, he took wickets. He was taking catches. He was a different Ben Stokes. उसके बाद से वो Ben Stokes संजीव कभी IPL के अंदर नहीं दिखे for whatever reason. But a few minutes ago, you stressed on 2 things: the breaks that he takes due to the mental toll that being Ben Stokes has, but he's also stepped away from one days, right? He might come back. That's a topic for a different day. But अगर हम T20 के बारे में बात करें, he's not a regular T20 player. तकरीबन 2.5 साल गए थे between his 2 T20 performances for England. When he came back, he didn't do much in the World Cup, Sanjeev. लेकिन final में that man Ben Stokes, with some luck, rose to the occasion. But if we look at it accurately, Test cricket is the one format where he seems to be doing wonders, right? Do you think, we're talking about Ben Stokes, he's a fantastic all-rounder, लेकिन सारे franchises उन्हें Ben Stokes the leader या Ben Stokes the captain के नजरिए से भी तो देखेंगे? It makes perfect sense. But the question is, does Ben Stokes right now want to be captain of a franchise? I don't think so, but your views.
Good question. Good question. In fact, Ben Stokes would also be puzzled by your question. Very good question. You've given very good two options, Jamie. Must admit that. I'm not sure whether Ben Stokes would want to be captain. That's one. Secondly, I'm not sure which franchise in its right mind will actually get him to be a captain. Because what we're talking about is
Okay.
credentials, review, past performance, everything, even including this recent performance, fantastic. But let's not forget, England have made it very, very clear as far as English cricket is concerned. They've removed him as captain. He's not a T20 captain. They have separate captains, and he's not the T20 captain. He's a very good performer, very big ticket player.
Yeah.
I think perhaps to remove that workload, I don't think Ben Stokes himself would be keen to take on the added responsibility of being captain, unless or otherwise, if the franchise have actually spoken to him and said that, look, we are going to come for you, and if we buy you, then we're going to make you our captain, and we have a good team to back you up. That's a different issue. But logically speaking, I don't think franchisees would go for Stokes as a captain. If they do, I would still be a little bit surprised because look
Yeah.
at England. They have him in their setup. He's one of the main players, but he's not the captain. That's number one. And secondly, whether Ben Stokes clicks or not on the IPL, very difficult to understand because this time around in IPL, the entire IPL also remember will be played here in India. So the sort of tracks, the sort of conditions which he will be facing, as will the others, they will realize that playing 14 matches as part of this massive carnival of cricket is not an easy deal. And secondly, as far as the combinations are concerned, whether Stokes actually makes it to a, suppose you have a big team which have a number of big players, and then they pick Stokes. What happens is that when you have somebody like a Ben Stokes, you cannot keep him on the bench. You'll have to play him every day.
Correct.
If you play him every day, of course he will bat, of course he will field, he'll take those sensational catches. Will he be bowling all those 14 games? So these are questions which remain to be answered. Of course, he'll be a very big buy, but I will still stick with my first selection, Sam Curran.
Sam Curran. We'll come to Curran, but just while you were talking about this Ben Stokes not bowling, क्या लगता है कि इज दिस द प्लेस जहां पे ये इंपैक्ट प्लेयर वाला रूल शायद सबसे पहले लागू होगा? बिकॉज एन इंपैक्ट प्लेयर कैन कम ऑन आफ्टर 10 ओवर्स एंड कैन बोल. डू यू थिंक एग्जैक्टली जो कह रहे हो तुम, डू यू थिंक दिस इज व्हाई परहैप्स बेन स्टोक्स शायद उन्हें बॉलिंग करने की जरूरत नहीं अगर इंपैक्ट प्लेयर आए? और आर यू सेइंग कि स्टोक्स का इंपैक्ट इतना बड़ा है कि दे विल वांट हिम ऑन द पार्क फॉर 20 ओवर्स?
Well, impact play substitution is a very, very interesting thing which they have done as far as the IPL is concerned. But I would like to see how it actually affects the balance of a team. I mean,
Correct.
suppose somebody has already bowled 4 overs and he's taken off, and another bowler is brought in who bowls good at the death. So you bring in another guy who can bowl four, so you can spare Ben Stokes. Fine, fair enough. But how does it work for the rest of the bowlers? Right? Because you cannot just look at one person, bring in one, and then see that whether the rest of the team follows around. Because this is not the 1986 Argentina football team, where everything and everybody revolved around a gentleman called Diego Maradona.
Diego
Carlos
Armando.
Velarde, the coach, used to call the players inside for a meeting, and he would refuse Maradona to come inside because Maradona would get upset, and then he would tell the players, "Remember, listen, wherever Maradona is, wherever Diego is, wherever you guys are, pass the ball, give him the ball. He is the main man." So in that case, that was football 1986. It cannot be in 2022. We have seen Argentina win again, but Lionel Messi didn't do it alone. It's very, very
Correct.
clear. He might be a very good player, but he didn't do it with as bad a team, as poor a team as Diego Maradona did.
Correct.
He had outstanding players. What happens in IPL is that moment you do something like preserving Ben Stokes just for batting and then dropping somebody for bowling, bringing in an impact player, does it affect the morale of the other players which you have? Because then what you're doing is you are revolving your plans, focusing your entire plans, keeping Stokes at the crux of the issue. So if that is the case, if he clicks, fine. If he doesn't, what happens? Because T20 is such, there's no algorithm, There's no AI or algorithm, I have to say this, which can
Yeah.
actually predict that today Stokes is going to make 50 or 20 balls and take six catches. No, it cannot. It doesn't happen. It's similar to the way that there is no algorithm which once could fail to predict that Alzari Joseph will come out of nowhere and take 6 for 12. And that will
Exactly.
give him,
Mumbai Indians.
and yet he would not have franchises coming for him, you know. So, I have.
Looks like Sanjeev has just dropped out, but he'll come back. इस बीच मैंने आपके लिए एक पोल लगाया दोस्तों. Do you think the impact player rule will work? You have 3 seconds left on the clock. बहुत में से आप व्यूअर्स ने ऑलरेडी अपने वोट दिए हैं. आप में से लोग कुछ अपने आप से पूछ रहे हैं कि यार ये चलेगा कि नहीं? Because the results are 50% of you are saying yes, the impact player rule will work, and 50% of you are saying you're not sure. I think Sanjeev and I are on the same track as well. Before अरुण सिंह आई एम जस्ट ज्वाइन. आज का टॉपिक है दोस्तों, आज का टॉपिक अरुण, आज का टॉपिक है आईपीएल ऑक्शन, जो कि आज 2.5 घंटे यानी कि 1.5 घंटे बाद शुरू होने वाला है. संजीव मुखर्जी, वेटरन टीवी एंकर, टीवी रिपोर्टर, ही इज विथ मी. ही जस्ट ड्रॉप्ड आउट, लुक्स लाइक सम वाईफाई प्रॉब्लम. आई एम श्योर संजीव विल कम राइट बैक. हम बात कर रहे थे कि बेन स्टोक्स जैसे खिलाड़ी, अरुण अगर अब है तो प्लीज ड्रॉप अ हाई, ड्रॉप अ लाइक. Will someone like Ben Stokes, we all know कि Ben Stokes के credentials क्या है, but will someone like a Ben Stokes be able to bowl regularly 4 overs? संजीव ने valid point raise किया कि क्योंकि इनका जो workload है इंग्लैंड क्रिकेट के लिए, with an Ashes looming in the not too distant future, with baseball and all this stuff, will Ben Stokes be allowed to bowl 4 overs? और अगर वो नहीं डालते हैं तो क्या इस साल से शुरू होने वाले इम्पैक्ट रूल से कुछ असर पड़ेगा फ्रैंचाइज पे? अगर आपको नहीं पता, इंपैक्ट रूल में, इंपैक्ट प्लेयर का रूल कैसा है कि 10 ओवर के बाद आप एक प्लेयर को स्वैप करके दूसरे प्लेयर को आप सब्स्टिट्यूट के तौर पे ला सकते हो. सो इट कुड बी दैट समवन लाइक अ बेन स्टोक्स, शायद अगर पहले 10 ओवर में उनका काम हो गया, ही कुड बी स्वैप्ड आउट एंड समवन एल्स कम्स टू बोल इफ दे फील दैट बेन स्टोक्स इज नॉट going to be able to bowl. But like Sanjeev Mukherjea said while he was on the show, इंपैक्ट प्लेयर रोल से कितने टीमों के बैलेंस बिगड़ जाएंगे वो देखना बहुत बहुत जरूरी है. लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट प्लेयर, समवन दैट संजीव एंड आई वर जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट. दोस्तों सैम करन. सैम करन मेरे हिसाब से एक, he does not need any introduction. हम सब जानते हैं जो क्रिकेट प्रेमी हैं कि सैम करन का योगदान क्या रहता है जिस भी टीम के लिए वो खेले. इंग्लैंड फ्रॉम हिज डेब्यू इन 2018 अगेंस्ट इंडिया जहां उन्होंने विकेट लिए, लोड और रन बनाए. उसके बाद आईपीएल में सीएसके ने इन्हें इतने अच्छे से यूज किया. ही गॉट अ हैट्रिक आल्सो व्हेन ही वाज प्लेइंग फॉर किंग्स 11 पंजाब. बट जो पिछले 1 साल से सैम करन आईपीएल से बाहर थे because he was injured, उस बीच जो इनका गेम डेवलप हुआ है, he gave credit. T20 वर्ल्ड कप में जहां ये मतलब he was an outstanding player for England in the T20 World Cup. He was player of the series. इन्होंने कहा था कि जो एक्सपीरियंस, जो अनुभव मुझे मिला सीएसके में खेल के, एमएस धोनी के साथ खेल के, धोनी की कैप्टनसी के अंडर खेल के, मेरा बहुत बड़ा मनोबल उससे बड़ा है. दिस इज व्हाई along with Ben Stokes, along with Cameron Green, this man Sam Curran, his name is being talked about as someone who can fetch a lot of money. इसी बात पर before Sanjeev rejoins us, I'm going to put up another poll for you people here. Who will fetch more money, Sam Curran or Cameron Green? दोनों ऑलराउंडर्स हैं, दोनों ब्लॉन्ड हैं. एक का कद थोड़ा कम है, एक का कद बहुत बड़ा है, द हल्किंग Cameron Green. But along with Ben Stokes, it's these two young all-rounders. Cameron Green, जिनका राइज काफी तेजी से हुआ है ऑस्ट्रेलियन क्रिकेट में, और यहां पे आपके स्क्रीन पे Sam Curran, who forced his way back as a fantastic death bowler in the T20 World Cup, which England won. प्लेयर ऑफ द सीरीज, अ फैंटास्टिक परफॉर्मेंस. और दोस्तों रीसेंसी बायस की अगर हम बात करें तो आईपीएल फ्रैंचाइजेस, अक्सर जितने भी हमने फ्रैंचाइजेस को देखे हैं 14 साल में, एट दिस ऑक्शंस दे टेंड टू गो बिग फॉर प्लेयर्स हु हैव डन वेल इन द रीसेंट पास्ट. और अगर हम रीसेंट पास्ट के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं तो सैम करन का ऑलराउंड परफॉर्मेंस T20 वर्ल्ड कप में बहुत बहुत बड़ा रहा. Who will fetch more money? आप में से 50% व्यूज ने कहा सैम करन और बाकी 50% ने कहा कैमरन ग्रीन. डिपेंड्स व्हाट्स हैपनिंग. सैम, बिल्कुल अरुण, आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं. सैम इज अ वेरी वेरी इंपैक्टफुल प्लेयर. चलिए, हमने काफी चर्चा की. लेट्स होप दैट संजीव गेट्स बैक. सीम्स लाइक देयर इज अ टेक्निकल डिफिकल्टी. लेट्स मूव ऑन दोस्तों टू सम इंडियन प्लेयर्स. और एक अनकैप्ड इंडियन प्लेयर हैं जिनके बारे में दोस्तों काफी चर्चा हो रहा है. तमिलनाडु के कीपर बैट्समैन N. Jagadisan. And I guess, yes, we've got Sanjeev back. Let's bring him back. Jagadisan is someone that Sanjeev mentioned in passing. He thinks that N. Jagadisan could be in for a good day because he's uncapped. available. And N. Jagdishan Sanjeev scored a lot of runs. He broke the record for he got some 500s in a row. This man, we know what he can do. Yeah, Sanjeev, Jagdishan is not a new player to the IPL. He's down. But given that recency bias of recent form, opener hai, keeping kar sakte hain. This guy from the uncapped pool could be in for a big day, Sanjeev.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. First and foremost, my apologies. There's some problem with the connection. So, like Ben Stokes, we were talking about Ben Stokes taking a break. I suddenly felt like Ben Stokes myself. I had my Ben Stokes moment. So, my apologies for that. Good point. Jagdishan is a terrific. I think he'll be a very good pick because as you rightly said, we've not really seen that much of Jagdishan. Primarily because he was in CSK and Mahendra Singh Dhoni is playing there for years and years. So obviously he doesn't really get a look in. So and interestingly, they let go of Jagdishan just before a few months before.
Yep.
But what has stirred the pot is that he's got, as you said, five back-to-back hundreds in the Vijay Hazare. Then he scored 100 in his first Ranji game of 70 odd balls. He's very good. And for any batting order which needs a wicketkeeper batsman and also is a little lefty heavy, as in too many left-handers, Jagdishan will be a very good pick for that. I seriously think Jagdishan should be, I mean, cricketing logic tells me he should be a good buy. He could actually be a big buy. He will
Yep.
make a lot of money possibly. If he doesn't, then well, the franchises know something which we don't know.
बिल्कुल एंड आई थिंक लाइक वी मेंशन देयर 3-4 टीम्स जिन्हें एक अनकैप्ड इंडियन ओपनर या टॉप ऑर्डर बैट्समैन की जरूरत है क्विकली अनदर पोल फॉर आवर व्यूअर्स हियर दोस्तों 25 सेकंड डू यू थिंक एन जगदीशन इज इन लाइन फॉर अ मैसिव पे डे maybe not massive but definitely he could like Sanjeev just pointed out he could be in that higher bracket for the uncapped players because एक टीम को एक भूख होती है जो लोग फिट हैं अवेलेबल हैं यस अंडर धोनी बहुत सारे कीपर्स को मौका नहीं मिला but if he goes to a franchise where there's a need for a top order and Sanjeev we can talk about form, we can talk about stats, but जो एक recency bias है, I think keeping that in mind, just like Sam Curran, who I was talking about while you dropped off, just like Sam Curran, this recency bias could end up going in N. Jagdishan's favor. Let's move on very, very quickly because we're running short. There's two big names. There is Kieron Pollard and Dwayne Bravo. These two along with Andre Russell. ये जहां भी जाते हैं विश्व के किसी भी कोने में किसी भी लीग में they end up contributing to franchises winning titles. Now, Mumbai Indians have a massive hole to fill, Sanjeev. That is, massive hole of Kieron Pollard's size 14 boots. There's no straightforward replacement. But very quickly, how do you think that team is looking? Or are they even looking? Or chhod do, Pollard is irreplaceable. How do you think that team is viewing today's auction?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Mumbai goes for because, as you said, they have just about 20 crores left in their kitty and they need to make two overseas picks. I mean, they've got two slots. Of course, one should be for somebody who comes in for Pollard. Who they go for, I wouldn't be surprised if they also go for Ben Stokes. I mean, why not? Why not? Because Ben Stokes can come in place of Pollard, not a like-for-like replacement. I would say a far bigger player with a bigger impact right now. Because the last 2 years we've seen Pollard's career has been tailing off. That's something which they could do, or maybe, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually, because Mumbai Indians have this incredible way of unearthing talent which nobody in India seems to know of, and then that talent comes good and makes a name for himself in the IPL. We've seen it starting with the likes of Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, who's now a household name. So why not Akash Vashisht? Akash Vashisht has, he's a sort of an enforcer type of batsman, plays for Himachal Pradesh, played very well in the Mushtaq Ali Trophy. He's got a fabulous strike rate as far as his batting is concerned, and is a little handy with I think he bowls a little bit of off spin. So, I won't be surprised if Mumbai Indians actually save some money instead of going for Stokes and they go for somebody like Akash Vashisht. I wouldn't be surprised. But what I'm concerned about Mumbai Indians is not just Pollard, but also the fact that who bowls along with Bumrah and Archer. Because they need backups. The Indian bowlers haven't done well, and they not only Pollard, they also don't have Hardik Pandya.
Yeah,
that is something they have to fill. That is something which I think they haven't been able to fill till last season. It'll be interesting to see who they have in mind. Maybe they might go all the way for Sam Curran to try and do a like replacement for Hardik Pandya.
That actually makes more sense because we talked about the two all-rounders who've now left. That is Mumbai Indians ka Pollard or CSK ke liye Dwayne Bravo. It would be easy to assume that even a CSK would go for a Ben Stokes. But you look at what this man on our screen, what his crucial core skill was, it was bowling at the death. And I think the England management realized in the first or second match of the World Cup ke Ben Stokes se death mein mat karao. जितनी भी bowling करानी है Ben Stokes उनसे जल्दी करा दो. So Ben Stokes, I don't think any franchise is looking at him as a death bowler. But rightly said, on the one hand Mumbai, Sanjeev, on the one hand CSK, they do need someone to bowl at the death, especially CSK with Bravo not there anymore for the first time in donkey's years.
Yes, yes. It'll be difficult to see who they actually get. If they get Sankaran, that's fine. But to fill in Bravo's boots I would say it's a Herculean task
Yep.
because the sort of performance he's given year after year, he's been their best. Even till last season, he was their best as far as the death overs are concerned. And if you look at the numbers, Chennai Super Kings' undoing last season has been their terrible performance as far as death overs bowling is concerned. So they need to shore up that. Who they pick for Bravo, that could really decide this particular year of this season of the IPL for them. And secondly, I also think Chennai Super Kings do not really have a quick bowler. They really don't have a quick bowler. If they need one, they might actually try and pick up somebody from this lot. But since the IPL is in India, and in spite of the fact that there are murmurs about the fact that whether the impacts substitution rule might affect the quality or the range of Indian all-rounders, I'm not sure how that plays out. But I would still like to think that we might see CSK unearthing more talent, more hidden gems. Guys who can come in and tonk the ball a little bit and then roll the arm over for a couple of wickets. You know how Mahendra Singh Dhoni has this knack of picking up these gems. So I would still be interested to see how Chennai CSK make their team. But the question which remains unanswered even now is that very difficult. I'll tell you, I'll give you the answer in a different way, Jamie. It'll be easier for MI to replace Pollard and bring in somebody else than for CSK to replace Bravo and get somebody else. I'm sure you will agree with me on that.
Absolutely, because we've seen that he does, as the years go on, his performance, that is Bravo's performance, did not dip as much as Kieron Pollard. And the team definitely, even at the last stages of Bravo's IPL career, CSK was more dependent on him than Mumbai were on Kieron Pollard. We have totally run out of time, Sanjeev, and our viewers, thank you for taking our time. I know you're heading off tomorrow to get back to the world of football, ISL. Before you go, let our viewers know where they can hear you, where they can follow you, in which language they can follow you during the ISL.
Well, in the ISL, I speak my mother tongue because I do Bengali commentary. I do commentary in Bengali, so you can catch it on Star Sports. Star Sports does have a Bengali feed for the ISL. Tomorrow is one of the big teams. That's ATK Mohan Bagan is playing. So, of course, after the World Cup, we have the auction. We're talking in the auction back to football, but this has been a busy year, Jamie, and I think in ending, I might say, and I think you'll share my thought that we all need to be thankful to the world of sport. That in spite of the hard
Absolutely.
times the world has gone through in the recent past, we still have so much to talk about, and we are still surprised when certain things happen in the world of sport. Be it Argentina winning a World Cup, or as I say, what I'm expecting, a left field pick today to make $1 million today at the auction. So yeah, of course, it gives us fantastic stories, fabulous moments, and we should all be thankful that we have sport in our life, something to look forward to, get excited,
Yep.
feel the pulse, and at the end of the day, leave with a smile.
The perfect way to sum up not just this show, but in fact 2022. Dosto, just to let you know, for the next week I will not be here. I'll be off. This is the last show from me from this year. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing shows to you throughout the last 12 months. Sanjeev, thank you to you. Wishing you a Happy New Year, a Merry Christmas. All our viewers, I will see you in the new year. Same show. The day is going to change, but the nature of the show will remain the same. Sanjeev, thank you. All the best. Viewers, love you all.